Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we talk about recovery centers, a beacon of hope for survivors of addiction. Crush Recovery Community Center in Cedar Rapids, founded by Rod and Deb Courtney, will celebrate its first year in June of 2023. Now, there's much to be thankful for, but there's also much more work to do to stop the stigma of addiction and recovery. Let's meet our guests, Rod, Deb, and Courtney. Welcome to the show. Rod, tell us a little bit about why you're here today and what's been going on.
Of course. Well, thanks, Peter, for giving us this opportunity. Yeah, it's the Recovery Community Center actually started our work around substance use disorders and overdoses, and recovery as a whole started after we lost our son to a fentanyl overdose in 2016. We started with a support group for parents and other people in the community that had people they loved with substance use disorders, and it just grew. And it grew to the point now where we have this Recovery Community Center in Cedar Rapids. It's a drop-in center, but it's a drop-in center in the sense that somebody needs services. You can stop by. We have peer recovery coaches that are trained to help plan and address any kind of needs that people have. We help to provide services. We're multiple pathways to recovery. We don't adhere to any one approach. One of the couple of sayings that we picked up along the way was, what does recovery look like to you, and how can we help you? And that's a lot of the philosophy that we have here. Everybody that works in this center is a person with lived experience. Either you're in recovery from some type of substance use disorder, or you've been impacted by a substance use disorder. So it's a collective wisdom. People come together. The community has been incredibly supportive of what we do. We have a full calendar on a weekly basis. As far as we have 12-step groups, cognitive groups, we have art groups, we have we do quite a bit of outreach in the community, and it's just very fulfilling, rewarding work, and we fill in a lot of the gaps. It's like we work collaboratively with people. We don't, it's not like, we're going to provide treatment. We're not treatment providers. We're not clinicians, but we understand the importance of clinicians and what role that will take in a person's recovery, or could take in a person's recovery. So we have, with all of our support groups and our drop-in centers, we have about, we're going to say we average 1,100 people a month coming through the center. So it's been awesome. So that's kind of just a little bit of a little primer about recovery community centers are.
And Deb?
Hi, I'm Debbie Courtney, and I'm the assistant director here at the Crush Recovery Community Center. And like Rod said, we just, in the beginning after Chad passed, we just couldn't find anywhere with like thinking, or with people that had experienced what we had experienced. There was a lot of stigma, and so when the opportunity came along for us to open this recovery center, we were thrilled to be able to do that. I have learned so much interacting with everyone in the community. People in recovery are wonderful, and I just hope that anybody stops up and sees what we're doing, or if they want to volunteer their services, we can always use volunteers.
And Courtney, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I am a person in recovery. I have about 3.5 years clean off all mind-altering substances. I first found recovery, I would say, like when I was a kid. My mom was an addict. She still struggles. So I knew what recovery looked like. I knew what it was, but I didn't never think I'd be in the position to gain recovery until my early 20s, when I started using meth. I used for 10 years, was homeless, couch surfing everywhere. I collected a whole bunch of charges that I still am taking care of. After 3 years of being clean, I still have to, clean up the wreckage of my past. And I feel like that's a really good I help people advocate for that because, just because we get clean doesn't mean our lives get better. We have to work at it. And what brought me to the recovery center, last year I had in my dream job working at a treatment center, helping other people find recovery, giving that voice to the addict that still suffers. I recover out loud. Deb and Rod will contest to that. I am not quiet when it comes to addiction and recovery, and treating people equally. So I lost my job at Prelude due to some jail time I had to serve, because the jail's open for minimus time to come back open after COVID. And I found myself really lost and almost back into a relapse. I was really, in a bad spot. I met our wonderful officer, Lindsay Powers, at my Parent Partner Summit. And she told me about the volunteer opportunities here. And I was like, yes, I just need to fill my time. I literally am struggling to find my spot in this life again, the loss of money. So that's really what brought me to Crush. And it's been a life changer for me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to continue our conversation with the team from Crush Recovery Community Center in Cedar Rapids. Stay tuned. We'll see you all after the break.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking about Crush Recovery Community Center in Cedar Rapids and their founders and employees to learn about what's really going on in this movement to help people deal with recovery from addiction. Now, I use the word addiction. There's a commonly used movement towards saying substance use disorder, but there's quite a bit of ownership of both terms out there. Rod, can you talk about this a little bit with us?
Yeah, Peter, this is a great question, and I think it's an amazing topic. It was probably, I don't know, a couple of years ago, our local treatment provider here in Cedar Rapids, ASAC, invited me to be part of a viewing called Anonymous People. And it was really around the word choice that we have when we're talking about people, and there's another link with this, people who use drugs, people who use alcohol, kind of put things in the first person. And that's where substance use disorder came into play for me, and probably one of the first times I'd heard that. So I really started to make a very conscious, effort to talk about, either people who use drugs or people with substance use disorders. And then, ironically, when I got into the Recovery Community Center and I started working with folks in recovery, people that are using whatever approach they use, whether it's 12-step programs or cognitive behavioral, guess what? They weren't. They still referred to themselves as far as like, I've been clean for this long. And some of the video, it's been a while, to talk about, well, clean from what? Insinuate that you were dirty, and a lot of word choice. But, just being selective in our wording, so people would still refer themselves as addicts. So I still stay with substance use disorder. And this is kind of a personal thing. I can have like addictive, not physically, but I can be addicted to, I just feel like I really need coffee, so there's, but the consequences of drinking my coffee are way different than the consequences of using alcohol or methamphetamine or some other substance. So I agree. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be maybe different in 5 or 10 years. I'm not sure. But one of the first people that I realized this with is, actually as a volunteer coordinator was Courtney, because she talks about being clean and not using. And then sometimes I'll counter with, well, Courtney, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic. So I also come from a 12-step program. I was reborn in that program, so I owe my life to it. But then I also, when I got involved in the recovery community, I started really realizing that some of the black and white literature that we read, and I love my 12-step program. It saved my life. So when I say this, I just mean from me personally. Like, I just felt it was really odd to that, when we're in meetings, we can't say sober because that defines two different diseases, and it's really just one. We're addicts and we're addicted. So my whole thinking has changed in the last year since I've been working around the recovery community. I like to say I'm an addict. I wear it as a badge of honor. I wear it as, my battle wounds, because they have to be shown in order to be recognized and treated. So I run into people who, want to say, hey, I'm an alcoholic. Hey, I'm a meth addict. Hey, I'm a heroin addict. And we like to identify ourselves differently because our needs are most definitely different. The way we would treat, a meth addict is way different than when we treat an alcoholic. So when it comes down to like the verbiage and the word, I could care less what people call me as long as they respect me, right? But some people, you really have to be careful because the verbiage is sometimes offensive, just like, any other word that you could call somebody. So depending on the person, depending on the situation, depending on how you are talking and counseling that person, I think really affects the way how we use these words. Like I said, I am a recovering meth addict, among other things. So when I introduce myself, especially like to professional people, I like to say, hey, I'm Courtney. I'm a long-term recovery. I'm a person in recovery, and I'm also recovering from meth. That way they can see a little bit more of the individualized struggle that came along with my journey and the other hoops I had to jump through, right, versus an alcoholic, or the obstacles that Rod had back 39 years ago. It's different. It's always evolving. So I think when it comes down to it, you just got to really be open-minded and open with the addict or the person in recovery that you're personally talking to.
And that's a good point, because I have noticed one thing in looking at populations of people when I meet with community groups. I have noticed that when I ask them the difference between substance use disorder and addiction, to test them, this is all a top-down thing. It's coming from the treatment and recovery and medical community. What I'm finding is it may not help so much because they're saying, oh, well, substance use disorders, like if our good kids get hooked up with drugs and need some help, but addicts, well, they're still a whole different thing. The world at large hasn't figured out there's a difference yet because everything started top down. And so I think that's what's the great thing about community outreach. And we're going to take a short break, but I'd really like to talk about your interactions with the community, with the groups you serve, and what this first year has been like to build this great response to what you're doing, because I think it's right at the core of dealing with some of those social problems and helping heal them. So we'll see you all after the break. We're going to continue to talk about the priorities and programs at your recovery center.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible. Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it With one of the nation's first 10G platforms, we'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're with Rod, Deb, and Courtney talking about the challenges and importance of community-based recovery. Rod, I remember when you were talking about this idea years ago, and it was like a guy getting ready to climb Mount Everest that hasn't been there before, but he's going, and now nobody's going to stop him. And now, a year later, you've learned a lot of lessons, and you've been, for all practical purposes, successful to date. What are some of the challenges you faced and the most important things you've learned in this process?
You know, Peter, and looking back, and maybe Deb can help me out with this, is I think the challenges have been kind of few, and a lot of it just kind of been systemic in a sense of maybe getting our name out there. One of the challenges is really getting to be better known in the medical professions, the medical field. Some of kind of explain ourselves to some of like the clinicians, as far as like, you know, the referral process is concerned. Ironically, it's kind of finding that ideal spot, because we wanted to make sure we were located in a place close to buses with you know, in a part of the community where maybe we could serve the most people. So I can't really think of any other challenges. And again, I'll give Deb here a chance in just a second, but I'm telling you, the support that has come for the community, and not just the people that have provided services in this community for a lot of years, but the recovery community. It was like a rallying point. The Recovery Community Center became the hub for people in recovery to meet. And I don't know where I heard this, but somewhere along the line, I heard that the opposite of addiction is recovery. And I believe that more and more. The people with lived experience are the experts. They know what services we need. And when I started this, that some of the challenge in the front end was like, you know, where are we going to focus our efforts? And I really wanted to rely on the recovery community and the community at large to provide that information. So it was a little bit open-ended. I mean, there's some basic things we wanted to do, and we knew we wanted to do. And we did that. Like I said, we have, you know, between all the self-help groups and other things that we do, we have a lot of people come through here. So I can't think.
Well,
Deb, can you think of any challenges?
I don't know if I would call it really a challenge, but one of the things we did up front was we changed our thinking a little bit. You know, we came in as the titles of director and assistant director, but that's because we wrote the grant. When we got here, it was turned around to, this is a recovery center for people in recovery. What should we do? Opened it up. You know, what looks good? Let's try this. Let's, you know, everybody working together on kind of an upside down triangle, you might say. So I don't know that it was a challenge, because people loved it, you know, and they continue to. And plus, it just feels more equal, and everybody provides. Everybody pitches in. Everybody has, like Rod says, wisdom, collective wisdom. So, yeah.
Now, Courtney, what are some of the things that people coming to the center say and talk about in terms of its importance to them in their lives?
Regarding the center?
Yes.
I think it's just like a safe haven, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing that we provide here. You know, you talk about, we have homeless shelters, we have places where you can go get food and maybe some sleep and maybe some supplies. But this right here is where the real magic of living happens. You know, we provide services almost 24/7. Our doors are just closed, you know. But we help our veterans, we help our kids, we help the parents, we help providers, we help the families. You know, that's the big thing, is that this center creates a new life. And if they don't have it when they walk through the door, they're going to see it when they leave. You know, we have every meeting possible in one place. And that's almost unheard of, to have every anonymous group in one roof. There's some conflicting stuff there. Some people don't get along with this program, but we've beat that. We have literally took down the walls of all that stigma surrounding different groups, and we put them all in one collective wisdom. We have friends now who go to AA, and they're best friends with someone who goes to CA. And we have people who are clinicians who are now good friends with people like me who are in recovery. And I never thought that I would sit here and be able to share my wisdom with somebody like a senator, or that I wouldn't even think in a million years that I would be worth their time. So, and I think when people come in and see that, that's where the real seed of hope gets planted, and even if you're not ready to stop using, or even if you're not sure where to even start, you just walk in this door, come talk to our staff, and there you have it. You just now have a whole entire menu of what would you like to do? What does your recovery look like for you? And if it changes, cool, we'll just try a different path. And this really makes it unique. And it's so beautiful here. I have everyone who comes through that door lights up, and their lives are just changed forever.
Well, thank you guys so much. We're going to have another segment coming up with you. So after a short break, we're going to ask you to share some comments, insights, and inspiration with our guests. All of you stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power, and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared, and you can be certain we'll keep your world connected. Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and Mediacom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we're talking about recovery centers and how they build a community of hope for people in recovery, for people that really need our help and people that are important in our community. Let's see what insights our guests have to share. Rod, let's start with you.
Well, Peter, I've worked in this community for over 20 years as a probation parole officer. I've been an addiction counselor. I'm a social worker, and I've gained more knowledge over the last year in working with people in recovery, people in the recovery community, as far as how to best address these needs. I come from a 12-step background, kind of that singleness of purpose, and one of the many lessons that I've learned is the importance of multiple pathways. I heard something last week that I really loved. We have a responsibility to meet people where they're at, and I agree with that. But I also agree with the comment that we also have a responsibility not to leave them there. And the Recovery Community Center does that. We don't care where you're at in your recovery. We don't care if you're just pre-contemplative of change. We really adhere to those stages of change, no matter where you're at. I mean, our little mantra here is no matter the substance, no matter the path, we got you. We will meet you where you're at and do our utmost best not to leave you there. So it's like we like to refer to ourselves as a no judgment a no judgment zone. And that's been one of that's been just almost enlightening for me over this last year. You, Deb?
Well, I just want to add the importance of family with this. We talk a lot about the recovery center and the recovery, but there's also family that's involved or someone that's been affected by their loved one that is going into recovery. So we also have some groups here that are inclusive of family and some peer coaching that can, be given to a parent looking for some answers. So,
Courtney, how about you?
I'm gonna echo what Deb says. It was not that long ago when I had a little aha moment that said, you know what, my kids are recovering just as hard as I am, and so is my family. I put them through the ringer for 10 years, especially my little girl. She's not so little no more. She's going to be a teenager. So, but I'm so blessed to have her kind heart. And when she comes into the center, she's family. She's recovering. She's understanding the struggle, and she's understanding some of the things that she goes through too, because she meets other kids in the center. And she's like, yeah, they can vibe together, just like the parents do. And the moms and the dads, me and Deb and Rod have a similar loss. They lost their son to an overdose. I lost my son's dad. So our passion to drive forward to help the people who are really seriously struggling out there and keeping the overdoses at a minimum and helping prevent more of them is just outstanding. I can't even put it into words there right now, I guess, but another thing is that we have every pathway possible. Rod brings in his Red Road recovery practices, which is something a lot of people aren't familiar with, but it's a lot of the healing, a lot of your internal healing, getting back to center, making sure that you're really taking care of yourself and your self-care. Because I'm not that great at it, but Rod and Deb really do bring out that part of me that makes me want to do better. The people I would love to serve more is our veterans. My son's dad was a veteran. Veterans are super close to my heart. I hate seeing them struggle. And they're really important on my radar. We really do a lot of collective wisdom. I love that word with a lot of the other area service people who help our veterans, and getting them off the street and getting them healthy, I think is important to me as well.
Well, you guys have been fantastic, and I thank you for everything you've shared. And thank you all for watching today. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.